in Flutter App Builder. There are two ways to integrate APIs. First, using actions, and second, using the onReady lifecycle method. Integrating an API using actions is quite simple. You integrate an API into a UI component which when clicked would call that API, while integrating an API via onReady lifecycle method would call that particular API as soon as the screen is initiated. Let's start with integrating an API on performing the onClick event of the Sign Up button to register the user. Click on the Sign Up button from the Smart Editor to integrate API. To integrate API on the Click event, select onClick from the list. If this list does not appear, press Ctrl space, press the space bar, and select API integration from the drop-down. Enter the name of the API integration function. This will be the API integration function name in the generated code. Click Submit to proceed further. This opens up with a list of APIs. Select API from this list. Now that the API is selected, the developer can handle API's request if required. Handling request allows handling headers in the request body. Switch to request body using Ctrl B. This has the list of all the fields. Each field can be bound to a specific type as per the requirement. The first one is the view, which allows the developer to set dynamic values in the request body by binding them to the input fields. The second option is constant. That allows the developer to access the value is set in the constant file. The third option, that is API response, allows the developer to bind the values obtained from the API response. The fourth option is get from preference, which allows the developers to access the value that is stored in preferences. The fifth option is navigation argument, which allows the developers to use the past value from the previous screen to the current screen. To bind username to the name present in Smart Editor, select View from the dropdown. This opens the Smart Editor, which allows the selection of the view to bind. Click on the name input field from it. Repeat the same steps for email and password. An address field is an object, which has geolocation as an object. That is latitude and longitude stored in a constant file. For latitude, select constant from the type. Select the constant file and the constant to bind. Repeat the same for longitude. After finishing request handling, now the response needs to be handled. There are two options available for this. The first is view, which means binding the response returned by API to the Smart Editor. The second one is save to preference, which enables to save the response field into a file for further usage inside the application. In the current application, to display the username anywhere inside the application, save the username to Preferences. To do so, select the option Save to Preferences. Enter the name with which it is to be saved. Let's move further towards handling the actions to be performed on success and on failure. Anything other than status code 200 will result in an error. At the time of function execution, if the response is successfully returned by the server, then it will fall onto the success path, else it will fall onto the failure path. Navigation, show alert, and API integration are the supported actions that can be performed on success and failure. Show alert is used to notify the user. API integration is used to integrate another API. DhiWise support one level of nested API integration. To work with nested API integration, follow the same steps of API integration. Navigation is used to navigate to another screen. To navigate to the dashboard screen on successful login, select Navigation from the dropdown. Select Screen Navigation from the dropdown. Select the home screen from the available screens. To notify the user on failure, select Show Alert from the dropdown. Show Alert supports alert dialog, snack bar, and toast. Select Alert dialog and enter the title of the message. Furthermore, it allows setting custom message and setting message from response. To set a custom message, select Custom Message and enter the error message. Click Save Changes. So, API is integrated and we're good to go. That's how you can integrate APIs really quickly with DhiWise on performing some action.